Let's go, everyone. Let's go. Get some energy. Get some energy. All right, why don't Dom, you go in the middle here.
Yes, sir.
All right, guys, my name's Josh, and this is my co-host, Dom, Dinero Dom on X. We host the MCG podcast. It's actually an MCG live show, and we started this because we wanted to talk about stuff other than meme coins. And RWAs, ICM, and ownership tokens have kind of come forward. These are like the most exciting last 3 months of crypto, and I've been in this industry for a decade. I've never been more excited to see real, tradable, investable products on chain. And so we have Tessera coming up, and yeah, let's get into it. Yeah, a little round of applause. Let's go. Thank you, everyone. And a couple of our co-panelists may have gotten lost out in the conversation, so we've got a short panel.
Let's go middle. Let's go right in the middle.
Okay.
Yeah, TBPN style, so you can sit in the middle right here.
For now.
Chan, thanks for joining us.
Thank
Chan's
you.
representing Tessera here, and we're going to have him give a little elevator pitch on what they're building. But at the higher level here, this is just bringing RWA to Solana, powered by Meteora, and we're honored to have these guys up here. So maybe we'll start. Oh, look at this. We've been joined.
Our co-host, awesome. How's it going?
We have full house. Let's start with a high level, just elevator pitch here, and we'll go from left to right, or right to left, excuse me, and then we can get into it.
For sure, yeah, thank you. Very good to be here, and thanks for having us. So I'm Darian, the founder, CEO of Synthesys. Synthesys is a tokenized securities brokerage. We distribute a large variety of supply tokenized funds across global distribution channels. Globally, we have about 50 distribution channels distributing for some of the largest asset managers, including Franklin Templeton, Fidelity, Hanwha, so on and so forth. So yeah, that's where we are.
Sweet. Chan?
Okay. Hi, everyone. Very happy to be here with MCG. MCG. You guys keep changing names.
At MCG Live.
MCG guys here. My name is Chan An, and I'm the founder and the CEO at Tessera. We tokenize private assets with the first launch of tokenizing private companies. For example, SpaceX on Solana with Meteora as our key partner very soon. So I'll be very much looking forward to seeing everyone on our launch. Thank you.
Sweet.
Hello. My name is Riot. I've been here in the ecosystem for 3+ something years. We are building something called Xitadel. You can consider us as a corporate bond model on Solana and then also on-chain venture debt on Solana. So basically, we help founders to stop selling their token with a 50% discount. Instead, they can borrow money against their own token. That's what we do. Yeah. Glad to be here.
Sweet. Thanks, guys. So the conversation here is RWA on Meteora, and I think we have to start with the high-level thoughts on what is RWA to you guys, and what does DeFi enable that maybe traditional markets don't?
And how does your product work in that context?
Sure. For us, RWA is a very different space. It's not so much of a DeFi space. It's not so much tokenizing different assets, right? For us, on the institutional side, how we see it is, I think there are different spectrums to RWA. Within a permission sphere, there are a certain subset, what we call, I guess, permission securities, permission assets. And more importantly, what this means and the motivation to tokenize these kind of assets is very different for institutions, for fund managers, for banks, as opposed to just getting access on chain, right? For these institutions, I think the motivation for them is blockchain as a whole within a permission compliant environment will be able to improve the efficiencies of operations. Whereas tokenizing other assets on DeFi, that sort of gives accessibility, gives the everyday investor the ability to access institutional products that they couldn't 2-3 years ago. So I think the motivation is very different, and the whole rationale to it is very different as well.
And who's the core user? It's just institutions. Am I a fund manager and I'm allocating capital to your product? Who's the core person using your product?
I think generally there are multiple ways to look at it, right? The motivation is one. The motivation to tokenize a product is typically top-down, right? So from the institutional point of view. but the buyers then sort of expands it for them. From a fund manager perspective, I can now distribute to institutions with treasury on Web3. Right? I can distribute to native treasuries. I can distribute to more native companies. That's the benefit of it, right?
Maybe to start with RWA, I actually don't like this term RWA at all, real world asset.
Is it overdone?
Yeah, I mean, it's a real world. That implies that there's something that is non-real and there's or fake even, and then real.
Magic internet money was a thing for a while. So.
No, I mean, but the fact is we are the real world and we are the future. So we should be the real world asset, in fact.
So what's the right word? On-chain liquid markets?
Well, the opposite of it. So to me, the RWA is anything that is non-native crypto. So all the TradFi assets, that's what it is. Now, the reason why we want to bring RWA on-chain, now we tokenize private assets. And we talked about this before, but how many of us in this room actually traded or even held companies like SpaceX? SpaceX has done 800 billion valuation round just a few days ago, and now they're talking about going IPO sometime in the future at 1.5 trillion and more. And how many in this room will be able to take advantage of that? That's because they exist in the real world, private asset and the public asset.
So you're giving the little guy the opportunity to access SpaceX earlier before it goes public at 1.5 trillion. Is that correct?
Exactly.
And how do you do that?
The reason why we can do that is precisely because we have the crypto, but more precisely because we have the blockchain. Now, the reason why we have the private asset and the public asset, getting rid of all the complexity is because there's something called credit risk or counterparty risk. If I want to exchange something of a value with you in the real world, we cannot do it atomically. I have to trust you to a certain degree, and you have to trust me. On blockchain, there's something called atomicity. So I don't need to know you, you don't need to know me, but we can still transact. That allows the throughput of transactions that you can put through a lot higher.
So I'm at a party, I'm telling my friends I'm an investor in SpaceX. They're like, dude, that's so cool, you must be really rich. Or do I just say, oh no, but I trade on Tessera, right?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
I mean, the fact is, it's no-brainer. I mean,
and what do you own? So if I own a piece of Tessera, is there a piece of paper somewhere that says I'm on the cap table? Like, how does it relate back to the actual company?
The cap table is an interesting thing. You see, people talk about cap table. I want to have my name in the share registry.
Put me on the registry with Elon. Come on.
For what? I mean, you're in the same level as Elon Musk. It doesn't matter. What is important is.
This is important though because I think it determines the risk that you have to take, which is where the institutions are coming from. Because when I buy into an asset, especially if it's on-chain, I don't want to take counterparty risk, thinking that if something happens, something goes wrong, I don't have a direct claim of the company, of the shares. So that is a big pain point, and that's a big risk point as well.
Do you think the biggest risk point right now, or when people think about RWAs, do you think the biggest barrier here is holder protection, right? Do they feel like there's no protection there, they're maybe not safe, or there's not one-to-one collateral with their assets?
I think that is a very real issue, but I think it's more on the education, and it's also lack of transparency as well. The fact is, even the public stocks, actually, to many people's surprise, is very, very complicated. And everything Web 2 is very complex. And same with the private equity, it's just that we are less familiar. So I think the important thing is making sure you have the right setup in place to give the trust and build the transparency around it so that people feel comfortable with what they're doing. I think that's what is important. So I seem to hijack the...
Yeah, let's pull Xitadel in here.
Yeah, so the product that we are building is actually on the contrary side, because what we are trying to do is to bring the TradFi's what is it called? A TradFi system that has been there for decades back to on-chain. Because on-chain at the moment, in terms of the venture capital, venture debt, a corporate bond world is pretty inefficient. So like as a capital efficiency wise, it doesn't really make sense to sell your own token with a 50% discount just because you need to do the financing. What do you do in the real world? You do the debt. You go for the bank and then put your equity on the bank and then get the money out. That's what we do. So like one thing that I'm super hesitant to even jump in there because like we are very permission based. So like we want to become a permissionless, yes. But if we do the permissionless of this system, in that case of scenario, we're just making another pumped up fund. So definitely don't want to go to that route. But yeah, at the moment.
There's a difference between permission and then curation. So you're also like curating product for people to feel safe and that this is, actually investable, right? Someone's doing due diligence. So it doesn't have to be an argument of, oh, it's permissionless versus permission. It's like, no, we've done great due diligence. We think this is the right product.
The thing is, I really, like if as a user of on-chain for past 5-something years, I definitely believe in the easiness of being permissionless, that I don't need to believe in the counterparty, right? But if you don't do any underwrite for the collaterals that is generating another flywheel here, just like us, then it is just an irresponsible, protocol. So that's why we're
right, because it's on your platform.
Yeah, pretty much.
No,
It's a believable, confidential, but still very believable counterparty.
But to me, actually, the issue of being able to offer permissionless or not, I think is very, very important. No offense to what you do, and I think
no taken.
I think it's a difficult issue because oftentimes RWA tends to be security, and then what happens is when you tokenize what is security, a simple answer is, well, the token that is tokenizing the asset should also be security, and therefore it requires KYC and things like that, i.e. making it permissionless. But the problem is, we talked about the reason why we want to bring RWA to the on-chain. That's because we have the blockchain and we have atomicity. Atomicity doesn't scale if we are on the permissioned platform. It flowers only if we are on the permissionless market. So from the product manufacturer's perspective, and I'm biased here because we do offer permissionless version of the RWA, I think it's very, very important to have that, not only because that will cover from the retail to institutions, all the target audience, the biggest market you can cover, but that allows you to integrate with all the DeFis that you want. And unless you can do that, I think it's fair. If you think about all the RWA projects, they have raised well, they have lots of money and so on. How many of them actually have users?
Do they have traction? This is the number one thing with RWAs that I can't wrap my head around. It's like Launchpad's found PMF, ICM has somewhat found PMF, ownership tokens have found PMF, but RWAs kind of haven't. What are your thoughts on, have you found product market fit for RWAs?
I'll step in here, right? I think the agenda, the benefit, and the motivation for RWAs is very different, right? Especially if you're talking about permission first, right? Institutional RWAs. The concept is, it's a very broad topic, RWA as a whole. We cannot generalize, and we cannot just look at it as, and track it, right, as a singular metric, right? So how much is being adopted, how much traction it has, will be very different from how we have tracked other protocols in the past, right? What I mean by that is there is true adoption when we look at the institutional side. Is there volume on permissionless, on DeFi? Not yet. But there will be, right? Permission assets for the time being serves the purpose that it was made for, right? But not the permissionless metric that we are very used to. That will happen. It just needs time, right? So,
but how long?
As we get there, as we get permissionless traction, we are seeing permission traction, right? So obviously, not everything. And the very important timeline thing here is that. We have to go by, because these are institutional products, we have to then obviously go by TradFi timelines, right? And that's very important. And because I know from the space, TradFi timeline in this case is moving in a very, very fast speed, very fast direction, and that's obviously being accelerated by people in crypto.
I agree with that. I mean, I think institutions will definitely come because of the benefits the blockchains offer, the efficiency gain you can get by removing the counterparty and the credit risk. I absolutely agree. But the problem is in my space, private asset, for example, why would institutions, even family office, want to trade on Solana when they already have access to the same trading off-chain? You know what I mean? So what I'm saying is the hurdle they need to clear for them to move to on-chain is just much, much harder. And they're not on-chain users. 99% of the crypto users are the retail. So any RWA project that is focusing on institutions, and I'm very happy with them, and I want to be part of them, I don't know how long it's going to take. So today is really the retail. Unless you can capture the retail demands for the RWA, we won't be able to survive unless you have 100 million. Maybe you do, but I don't.
No, for sure. I mean, when I talk about the demand, I'm talking about demand from the sell side, right? And I agree with you, right? Right now, where real demand is, or at least on the buy side, it is definitely, yes, giving access to retail. So that's why I started the whole conversation with what is the motivation for the asset. For the family offices that you talked about, for the institutions on the buy side, yes, they already have access, but tokenizing an asset for them means very differently, right? It's not about getting access, it's about getting a better product. For example, a tokenized fund, by default, should be a better product than a traditional fund.
When you say a better product, is it a better return profile? Is it more transparency? What makes it a better product?
There are many benefits to it. It's going to be a whole pitch, but I mean, if you break it down, right,
30 seconds.
Ultimately, if you break it down, it will be a product that's better managed. I mean, getting quite technical here, but a lot of the fund management operations right now, I mean, some of the biggest institutions, tier 1, they're still using FACS, right? We are bringing them from traditional, non-digital onto Web3. That will take time, right? But that is the immediate benefit that they start to see. Going from FACS into instant atomic settlement is something that blows their mind.
There's actually one other one. So if you have an RWA product, real-world asset like real estate or something, and then try to tokenize it, the immediate benefit you can have from the DeFi is try to utilize that as a collateral and then borrow money against it. So it's like if you right now, if you want to tokenize, if you want to use your RWA asset and try to raise money against it, you have to go to bank, JP Morgan, whatever. If you're in the third developing country, you don't even have an access for it. So, but if you go through the right process of tokenizing that asset and then come to somebody like us, then we'll be able to raise money for you, which is stablecoin, but stablecoin can be utilized in many different places these days.
So in this situation, you're taking collateral against the equity in a company. Who's auditing this company? Like, where does that valuation come from?
That's why the person or the company or any entity that is tokenizing that asset is very important. That has to be very reliable and also hopefully permissionless somebody that is doing it. But honestly, it's not us. We're just a middleman who's using those assets to raise money against with a family desk or LPs or retails.
So this seems like it would be difficult then for early stage companies because they're hard to value. You know, the auditing process would be difficult. So it feels like your product serves early stage companies, but since it's difficult, how do you account for that?
So first of all, we want to, but we can't deal with a really, really early stage product. We only can deal with like a somewhat stabilized, due diligence of the companies that already have been some establishment in the Web3 scene.
But it's the early stage companies that need the funding more so than the later stage. Are any plans to dip into?
I personally really want to, but I've seen a lot of rugs in every single day. So it has to be like it is about this. So in the real world in TradFi, you use credit line, right? Like you have this credit that you can you need to sacrifice if you are trying to fuck with anything. But like if you're trying to do that on chain with a completely permissionless, then yes, you're something that you're giving up as a line should be worthwhile.
So we have 30 seconds each. I just want to give final thoughts to your projects. What should people do?
Call to action.
So I think the direction that tokenization of securities is going is that we will be starting from a permission sphere. That doesn't mean that the market will not evolve into a permissionless environment, right? Within the right compliance and within the right regulatory setup, it will be. And that is where we start to see real benefits for investors, and we start to see real utility benefits from looping, from all the different benefits that were not previously available.
So we are launching very soon, most likely in the first quarter of next year. And everyone, we have a banner outside in the hall, so please go outside and take the QR code. We are currently running referral program where the registered users and their core registry will get up to 35% revenue cut of what we make. So we are charging 20 bips, which will be very competitive. And that is something that everyone should really participate.
After the Genius Act of the Trump administration, everything started to move super fast. The RWA is definitely coming. But come to the Citadel, Citadel.fi. We have a DevNet at the moment. Our product is launching on January. Hit me up if there's any questions. But yeah, this RWA is the future.
Sweet.
Awesome, guys. Thank you so much. Thank you to the listeners. Shout out Matt
Thank
Dobby.
you.
We love
Thank
you.
you.
Thank you, Meteora, for making this all possible. Guys, awesome.
Thank you.
Good job.